Discover the incredible moment. A black belt's joke silenced by a janitor's unexpected wisdom. The dojo was filled with the hum of anticipation, students stretching and preparing for Tom's class. A dojang run by a black belt, revered for his skills. Yet here he was, a prisoner of expectations and self-doubt. Tom ran a hand through his hair, ruminating over his recent loss to a rival sensei. The echo of his defeat played in his head like a haunting melody. Desperate to push aside that shadow, he caught sight of Mr. Jenkins, the janitor, quietly sweeping the floor, a serene presence in the madness. Perfect target, Tom thought, rising to the challenge of masking his frustration with bravado. "Hey, Jenkins, maybe I should teach you a few moves." The class chuckled, but not all laughter was lighthearted. Some giggles were tinged with nervousness. Tom didn't notice. He thrived on the cheers, unconsciously hoping to bolster his esteem, so he pressed on. It wouldn't kill you to venture out from behind that broom once in a while. Show some spirit. The laughter grew louder. Tom, awash in false bravado, didn't he see the glance of discomfort that flickered across Jenkins' face? He never had. Beneath that mop and faded janitorial uniform was a man who dedicated himself to his work, taking pride in unseen labors at the dojo. Tom had belittled what he didn't understand and, for a moment, felt the thrill of applause. Yet, beneath that veneer, the darkness crept closer. The air hung heavy, suffused with tension as one of the students stumbled awkwardly during a kata, crumpling to the mat with an alarming thud. Tom clambered back to control. "It's just a sprain. You're fine," he shouted. Panic gripped him as the chaos unfolded. The laughter faded, eyes darting from the fallen student to their instructor. He fumbled, adrenaline racing, each command issued with more desperation than sincerity. "Where's the ice? Turn off the lights?" He grasped for any semblance of authority, only to find it slipping through his fingers. In that moment of chaos, Mr. Jenkins stepped forward. "Tom, wait," he said, breaking the current of disarray with his calm voice, a beacon amidst the storm. "Strength isn't just about the muscles, it's also about respect and humility." His words flowed through the room, cutting sharply through Tom's bravado. The class fell silent, the air thickening with the realization that the janitor's lean frame carried more wisdom than Tom had ever acknowledged. Tom felt something wash over him: embarrassment, anger, and a stark confrontation with his own arrogance. As Jenkins' statement echoed in his mind, shadows of self-doubt flickered in and out of focus. Sure, he held a black belt, but all he felt was a loss of footing. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The dojo remained quiet, but internally, Tom was spiraling. What did mastery truly mean if it was tainted by arrogance? Was he merely a teacher, drowning in dreams of grandeur while the reality of his responsibilities loomed like a storm cloud? He felt an overwhelming urge to challenge his own identity, but the weight of expectations, family obligations, and fears about taking over the failing auto shop held him back. Could he really embrace this new path Mr. Jenkins hinted at? Or would he remain shackled to the futile chase for recognition that ultimately stripped him of genuine strength? As Tom faced the mirror Jenkins had unwittingly held up for him, the echoes of his previous bravado darkened further. The weight of judgments from his students and the burdens of his family pressed on him like a vice. There was no turning back now. The questions churned within, clawing for answers he didn't yet possess. Tom stood frozen, the dojo's silence wrapping around him like a dense fog. Mr. Jenkins, the janitor, had illuminated a part of Tom he had shunned for too long: his arrogance. As he watched Jenkins pick up the scattered pieces of the fallen student's dignity with quiet grace, an unsettling realization settled in. True strength was as much about lifting others as it was about showcasing one's own abilities, With each fleeting moment, the laughter that had fueled Thomas' ego now felt like a weight pressing down, preventing him from breathing deeply. The students exchanged glances, their faces questioning whether their instructor was more than what they saw. Was he merely a figure cloaked in garish bravado, or did he have something greater to offer? They began to mirror Thomas' self-doubt, and unease festered in the air that he turned to Jenkins, fury directed at himself disguised as indignation. "What do you know about strength?" he snapped, the words tasting bitter. "You clean floors. You don't lead classes or win competitions." Beneath the surface of his attack lay fear, the fear of being unqualified and unworthy. The words were out before he had time to gather himself, and he felt their destructive force ripple through the dojo. Jenkins looked up, unfazed. "Maybe that's true. But I've learned a thing or two while watching you, Tom." His calm demeanor never wavered, and it only infuriated Tom more. "I see strength in the person willing to stand back and lift others up when they fall. That's what makes a true sensei. It's not about the belt. It's about the heart." Tom's fists clenched at his sides, grappling with Jenkins' assertion. His heart thudded in his chest, each beat echoing with questions. What had he been doing? His students deserved a leader who guided them, not someone who hid behind jokes and bravado when feeling insecure. The more he wrestled internally, the more he recognized he'd been marching down a hollow path, worrying endlessly about legacy and loss of status, chasing acclaim while neglecting the nurturing aspect of teaching. The incident with the fallen student gnawed at him. The responsibility rested on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. He thought about how he'd reacted. Commands laced with panic instead of the calmness and patience expected of an instructor. The juxtaposition of his position and actions left a sour taste in his mouth. Resolutely, Tom turned to his students. "I'm sorry," he said, the words rushing forth like a dam breaking. "For everything I've showcased assumptions, arrogance. I've lost sight of what matters." A few students exchanged surprised looks, and he pressed on. "Respect and humility, they're more powerful than any belt will ever be, and I failed to demonstrate those. I failed you." Their expressions began to soften, tentative smiles emerging, embedded with a glimmer of hope. As Tom considered his next choices, a flicker of determination ignited within him. He envisioned a different kind of dojo, one where mastery was defined not by physical prowess but by emotional resilience and mutual respect. Yet as he stood amidst this newfound resolve, a gnawing fear lurked just beneath the surface. What if his students didn't accept this change? What if he still fell short of their expectations? Confronting this anxiety would be a journey, one that would demand he dig deeper into himself than ever before. The tension thickened once more as he contemplated the coming days. Would he transform the dojo into a space of more than just physical training? Would he embrace the path of humility laid out before him, knowing it would require letting go of past vendettas and embracing vulnerability? The answers were elusive, but the trajectory was promising. And then, a single thought crystallized in his mind. This was only the beginning. A voice bubbled up from within, urging him to face the true heart of the matter. The time had come to not just teach, but to embrace learning in ways he had never imagined. But were he and his students ready for the challenges that lay ahead? Would they emerge stronger than the sum of their past? With determination and uncertainty coiling together, Tom made his way to the center of the dojo, ready to reshape not just his instruction, but the essence of what it meant to be a sensei. The moment of truth arrived, but would his newfound path yield the strength they all sought? Tom stepped back, immersing himself in the quiet ambience of the dojo, the mat beneath his feet feeling more grounded than ever. He took a deep breath, steadier than he'd felt in ages, yet the heaviness of impending change loomed. His students observed him intently, curiosity mingling with skepticism. Their faces reflected the challenge ahead. He could either dive deeper into the vulnerable depths he now understood or retreat to his facade. He initiated an open dialogue. "What do you all think makes a strong sensei?" The question lingered in the still air, echoing his internal conflict. A few hands raised tentatively. "Is it because you win fights?" One student ventured, recalling the glory Tom had often flaunted. "No, It's more than that, Tom responded, shaking his head. What if strength lies in our ability to connect, to support one another? I want to hear from you. What does support look like here? A chorus of answers erupted, their voices sparking energy in the room. The response was raw, reflecting a wish to redefine their roles. Talk of sharing ideas, collaborating on techniques, and fostering a culture of respect filled the space, and Tom felt a familiar spark, the thrill of potential. His heart raced as he embraced this transformation. Perhaps this collective, emerging vision of the dojo was exactly what it needed. Yet a tightening in his chest reminded him that change wasn't just about words. It demanded the excavation of old, ingrained habits. Would they truly embrace this shift? As he guided the discussion, Tom challenged himself to remain just as vulnerable, to acknowledge his growth and the gap between aspiration and reality. I want to try something different in our next class, he said, a knot of apprehension forming in his stomach. We'll focus not just on techniques but on understanding each other as struggles. Concern shadowed their expressions. Some students exchanged glances, clearly unsure about the path ahead. But what if we mess up? A shy voice piped up, heavy with the fear of failure. Good. Messing up is part of growth. Tom quickly interjected, recognizing the insightful question wrapped in hesitation. I've done a lot of that myself. It's how we learn anything worthwhile. The ground felt shaky beneath them, both exhilarating and terrifying. Yet Tom understood it was the very essence of strength he sought to cultivate. He saw eyes spark with a flicker of courage and recognition. In that moment, a decision crystallized. He would commit to being more than a teacher. He would become a constant learner, even if it meant breaking down and reshaping his own constructs in the presence of his students. Yet the anticipation of tangible change sparked another layer of doubt. As he left class that day, he couldn't ignore the haunting whisper. What if he didn't measure up? What if he stammered along the new, awkward path he set for himself this time? Tom found himself wandering through the hallways, mind racing. He imagined daily sessions of laughter mingled with lessons on vulnerability, nurturing balance between lessons of the body and of the heart. As his thoughts swirled, he pondered the trepidation ahead. How do you teach humility when you still feel the pangs of pride? With the taste of uncertainty lingering like a bitter afterthought, he resolved to involve the students in expanding their dojo experience, making it shared territory, not a one-man show. How could he invite them to co-create this atmosphere of mutual respect and emotional resilience? Just as he contemplated ways to engage them more actively, he overheard voices down the corridor. Curiosity piqued, he edged closer, straining to catch snippets of a conversation. The tone sounded animated yet laced with underlying tension. You know, he's just gonna fall back into his old ways, one student scoffed. It's all just talk. Tom's heart sank at the harsh judgment and the implicit doubt, perhaps the fear of repeating past mistakes wasn't just his own. He realized this journey would not only test him but challenge each student to confront their own perceptions as, well, how could he dismantle that skepticism? What if they weren't ready to join him on this vulnerable path? As their whispers faded into silence, Tom steeled his resolve, clarity sharpening within him. Tomorrow would mark the true beginning. The struggle to find balance between confidence and humility would commence anew. But would his students rise to meet him, or would doubt drown the promise of transformation? The morning sun cast pale rays through the dojo's windows, illuminating the space and revealing the subtle dust particles that danced in the light. Tom stood at the edge of the mat, his heart beating in sync with the rhythm of uncertainty that filled the air. He slipped into a meditative stance, his mind racing with the challenges that lay ahead. Today was pivotal. He could feel the weight of expectation, both his own and his students. As they filed in, their faces mirrored his anxiety, each bearing the same skepticism that had crept into his thoughts the night before. Tom inhaled deeply, drawing in a surge of courage, then exhaled as he positioned himself at the center of the room. Welcome, everyone, he began, striving for a calm tone that belied his tumultuous thoughts. Today, we're doing something that might feel a bit uncomfortable. It's about vulnerability and support. Silence enveloped them, heavy and tangible. One student crossed his arms, skepticism etched on his face. Tom caught the glimmer of doubt in the eyes around him, but rather than retreat, he leaned into the discomfort. "Let us pair up," he instructed. "Each of you will share something that challenges you." The room buzzed with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. This was wholly different from the traditional lessons of strength and skill they were accustomed to. It asked them to open up, to reveal themselves, to connect on a level that housed the potential for both pain and growth. As they began, Tom found himself moving between pairs, observing the raw exchanges. Some spoke of pressures outside the dojo, while others revealed fears of failure or feelings of inadequacy within martial arts. Their bravery ignited something in him, a transformative energy coursing through the room. But as he listened, he also felt an unsettling knot in his gut. He never opened up past the surface. Would revealing his own struggles only invite judgment, further igniting the doubt that hung in the air like a storm cloud? Yet wasn't he that the point? The embodiment of a sensei was not solely physical prowess but the courage to be honest and open. By the time he returned to the front, he felt drawn to share his story, knowing that vulnerability could be a powerful tool. "I faced my own challenges," he confessed, his voice trembling slightly. "When I was starting out, I often felt like I didn't belong. I fought not just opponents, but my own insecurities. Took me years to understand that strength isn't about being tough all the time." The palpable tension lightened as several students exchanged looks of recognition. Tom realized that his admission had unlocked a portal to deeper connections, just as they had hoped for. Conversations blossomed, laughter and understanding interwoven with the gravity of the revelations. Yet, amidst this blossoming warmth, another specter emerged. The fear of the judgment he overheard still lingered, and a voice in his mind whispered that it wouldn't be long before the doubt returned. He found himself glancing at the doorway, half expecting that skeptical student to burst in with a dismissive grin. Just then, a sudden commotion disrupted the class as a janitor walked through the room, pushing a cart filled with cleaning supplies. Tom halted, caught off guard by the intrusion. Moments passed as the janitor paused, observing the scene that unfolded before him. "Looks like you're doing some real work here," the man commented, his tone light yet somehow wise. "People don't just want the perfect fighter. They want someone who gets it. Even cleaning this place, I see the struggles you all face. It's about rising even from those falls you take." This unexpected wisdom reverberated through the dojo. Tom's thoughts flickered. Could this simple encounter further fracture the barriers of perception? Would his students find strength in the janitor's candidness as they did in their own vulnerabilities? As gratefulness washed over Tom, a realization cascaded within him. Transformational journeys weren't governed just by grand epiphanies. They began in the mundane, often bolstered by the wisdom of overlooked voices. Yet, as laughter and camaraderie filled the dojo, the lingering intimidation of doubt gnawed at his resolve. Would moments like these evolve into tangible growth? Would his students genuinely embrace this new path, or would they falter when faced with the more challenging aspects of change? Tomorrow would reveal the answers, but Tom knew the real work had just begun. How could he ensure that the wisdom shared would resonate beyond fleeting moments, solidifying a culture of authenticity and support that transcended skepticism? The next morning, Tom entered the dojo with a mixture of renewed purpose and trepidation. The events of the previous day pulsed in his mind like a vivid memory begging to be explored further. Could he harness that raw vulnerability into a mechanism for change? Standing in the tranquil space of the dojo, memories of laughter still echoed in his ears, but so did the clamor of doubt. He longed for the warmth of connection but remained haunted by the frail specter of judgment. As he stretched, each movement allowed him to probe deeper into this paradox, between the strength of sharing and the fear of exposure. The students arrived, bright faces tinged with curiosity yet still hesitant. Tom sensed the lingering skepticism lingering like mist, a veil that hadn't lifted overnight. As they gathered on the mat, he stood before them, aware of how this moment could either uplift or diminish the fragile openness they had begun to cultivate. He cleared his throat, aiming to articulate that pivotal sentiment again. Yesterday was an awakening. He glanced around, measuring the intensity of their gazes. But today I want to challenge you more. Let us build on that openness. We're going to work on something a little different, how to support one another not just through words, but through action. They shifted. The air thickened with anticipation as he explained the day's plan. Each student would pair with a partner and face a routine and element of physical training that revealed not only their technical proficiency, but also their interpersonal dynamics as they transitioned into pairs. Tom observed the students grappling with their inhibitions. Would they be able to balance the demands of competition with the need for cooperation? This required a dance of trust, where one's strengths and weaknesses were laid bare. Tom partnered with Amelia, a diligent student known for her fierce competitiveness, yet also her vulnerability. He felt the energy shift as they started, her focused intensity matching his, but under the surface was a thread of uncertainty. As they practiced their techniques, he paused mid-move. "Tell me, what makes you doubt your ability?" She halted, her brow furrowed in concentration but softened as she reflected. "Sometimes I feel like I'll never be as good as the others. Like I'm just chasing something that keeps moving." Tom nodded, sensing her struggle mirrored his own fears. He recalled training sessions where he questioned his place. In sharing, he vented some of that darkness, lightening the burden on both their shoulders. "Let us flip this," he suggested, a spark igniting. "You're not chasing perfection. We're all learning together. Show me what you can do." He articulated the steps of the move again, this time embodying confidence as he displayed the progress they had both made as they shifted through their routine. He encouraged her, amplifying her strengths. Each successful execution sparked a new sense of empowerment in Amelia as doubt began to melt away, replaced with newfound clarity. As the session continued, small victories resonated through the room, each pair discovering their rhythms of support. Laughter echoed as mistakes were made, but they felt lighter, perhaps more connected in the experience of both struggle and triumph. Tom watched the transformation unfold, the walls of skepticism slowly give way to understanding. However, a weight still bore down on him. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were skimming the surface, that real change required delving deeper than mere physical skill. As they wrapped up, he encouraged everyone to reflect aloud on what had emerged in the activity. How did it feel to lean into that support? That same skeptical student who had crossed his arms the first day raised a hand. "Felt different, but real. I realized I'm not alone in feeling like this." Tom's heart swelled, yet unease intruded his thoughts. This connection felt fragile, an ember in danger of being extinguished at the first gust of doubt. After dismissing the class, he lingered, contemplating strategies to fortify their burgeoning collective vulnerability. Was this enough? Could he cultivate the strength to ensure this meta-journey persisted beyond moments of camaraderie? The answers loomed before him, yet were swept by uncertainty. He resolved to experiment, to navigate a new course not just as a sensei, but as a fellow learner in this unfolding journey of discovery. The next challenge awaited, a confrontation of sorts. What if the very nature of their vulnerability faced resistance from within as skepticism clawed to the forefront? He buckled down, determined to engage whatever doubts remained seriously. Could he face both the external challenges and internal conflicts that awaited them? His answer awaited, shrouded in mystery. The following class began with an air thick with anticipation again. Yet a new tension lingered as Tom sensed the skepticism mingling with apprehension among the students. He gathered them in a circle, the bright sunlight streaming through the dojo's windows casting long shadows across the polished wooden floor. The warmth should have felt inviting, but instead, it amplified the weight resting on his shoulders. "Today, we dig deeper," he announced, his voice steady but containing a tremor that belied his confidence. "We will confront our doubts head-on, pushing not just our bodies but also our minds. I want you to think critically about what vulnerability means and how it connects to our discipline." He watched as expressions shifted, faces painted with uncertainty. They were used to rigorous physical challenges, yet this emotional labyrinth felt daunting. Could he guide them through the maze of their own minds? Tom decided to initiate an honesty exercise, a topic that always left him feeling exposed. Pair up again. This time, I want you to share your biggest fear related to your progress in martial arts and beyond. Speak openly. This is a judgment-free zone. The hesitation was palpable. An invisible wall formed between pairs. A part of him recoiled at the potential violence of exposing his own fears, but he pressed on, reminding himself that true growth lay in facing discomfort head-on. As he paired with Amelia once more, he spoke first. My fear is that I'm not enough for you all. I worry that I can't guide you the way you deserve to be led. The admission hung in the air, an awkward weight that magnified the silence. Amelia's eyes softened, and for a moment, he caught a glimpse of understanding. You're changing the game for us, but I guess I fear failing to meet your expectations, she replied, her voice fragile yet gaining strength with each word. A release echoed through their exchange. An unspoken pact formed in that moment. They were no longer just teacher and student, but traversing similar paths of uncertainty. Their vulnerabilities became a bridge, drawing them closer together. As the exercise continued, he moved through the room, listening to stories shared in hushed tones, witnessing tremors of fear morph into moments of strength. The once closed-off students revealed profound insecurities, and like petals unfurling in the spring, they connected over self-doubt and triumph. However, as stories unfolded, Tom noticed a recurring theme: fear of inadequacy, of judgment from peers, the constant chase for approval. It was a familiar echo in his own life, and he felt empathy converge with a relentless urge to uplift them in his mind. He conjured the memory of his first tournament, the anxiety of performing in front of a crowd, the paralyzing fear of failure. By employing rigorous practice and embracing the lessons in failure, he had transformed that fear into a fuel. Let us use that fear, he said, voice flooding with newfound fervor. Let us transform it into something powerful. You have the strength to reshape how you view obstacles. Failure isn't a wall. It can be a doorway. Encouraged by his boldness, everyone began sharing anecdotes of their worst moments, the agony of defeat, the heartbreak of lost opportunities. Each confession became a thread weaving them closer together, an insatiable yearning for growth surfacing like molten lava bubbling from a volcano. But amidst the catharsis, an unsettling whisper tugged at Tom's mind. Were they truly ready to confront the demons that simmered beneath the surface? His enthusiasm mingled with dread as their doubts danced dangerously close to the seams of collective frailty. Could he lead them deeper without losing the light of their progress? He ended the session, feeling the mixture of vulnerability and strength linger like smoke after a fire, a stark reminder of how much further he had yet to go. Tomorrow we'll explore how to turn these fears into tools for our practice, he promised, the thought echoing in his mind like a challenge laid down. But was he fully prepared for what his leadership might require? Could he encourage the others to face their deepest fears when he still battled his own? Tom walked away, a flicker of uncertainty flickering in his heart, as he realized the next lesson would necessitate even deeper introspection. What awaited him and his students on this journey of confronting the shadows they all hoped to outrun? As dawn broke the next day, Tom felt a restless energy coursing through him. The echoes of vulnerability shared the day before were still alive within him, intertwining with fresh tendrils of anxiety. The dojo felt like an old friend, yet the familiarity only amplified the weight of expectation hanging in the air. He arrived early, deliberately pacing the polished floor, mentally rehearsing the lesson ahead. What did it mean to turn fear into fuel? As he rehearsed, he thought of the students' fear-stained stories, the raw honesty that had exposed a collective wound. He felt grateful that they had taken the risk to open up, yet haunted by the realization that he, too, had commitments to uphold. They had stepped into the light, but could he emerge from his own shadows? The students filtered in, their faces a mix of hope and trepidation. Tom gathered them at the center. Today, we take another step forward, but before we try to harness our fears, I want to introduce a challenge that emphasizes trust as students and as partners. He sensed the stir of unease ripple through the circle, their eyes narrowing slightly as they anticipated what might come next. Partner up, he instructed with a resolve he tried to project. This time, one person will be blindfolded while the other will lead through simple movements, trusting and listening. He could see the trepidation flash across their faces, each silently grappling with the idea of surrendering control. The act of yielding, of placing trust in another, seemed heavier than he had anticipated. Remember, you'll need to communicate clearly. This isn't just physical. It requires you to connect on a deeper level. He watched them pair off, his heart racing as the first hesitant ties of trust began to take form. Watching them, he felt torn. Was he truly the best guide for this task? Despite his efforts to nurture their growth, he wrestled with inklings of doubt. How could he help them strengthen their trust when his own felt weak? He turned to the two students nearest him, Jenna and Dominic, who had already donned blindfolds. Listen to each other. It's not about getting it right. It's about understanding, he called out. But then an unexpected voice broke through the exercise. A janitor, Mr. Adams, who often worked the morning shifts, was cleaning nearby. Trust is often found in the smallest gestures. He interjected without preamble, pausing his sweeping. Tom felt the tension shift among his students, curiosity peeking in their faces. Mr. Adams continued, when I clean, I'm not just doing a job. I'm creating a safe space for you all to find yourself. That's trust. You see, it's in the belief that you'll step into something greater, despite your fears or doubts. The insight settled over the group like a gentle rain. An unexpected wisdom bloomed from what had felt like a mundane role, while Tom grappled with the notion of spaces both physical and emotional that created opportunities for growth. As the janitor walked away, his presence lingered in the air like the scent of fresh linen, prompting Tom to reflect. Had he truly provided such a space for his students? Were his lessons rooted deeply enough to foster true growth? He faced the group again, diverting their focus back to the task. The blindfolded students began tentatively stepping forward, their whispered instructions barely emerging through the veil of uncertainty. Trust began to blossom in clumsy movements and tentative laughter, a tangible bridge forming between them. Yet, amid this feeling of progress, a deeper realization gripped him. Words from Mr. Adams echoed in his thoughts. Trust consists of faith in others. But how could he guide them there when his own struggles were still unresolved? The session concluded, but the questions loomed larger than before. He walked with heavy steps towards the door, a paradox swirling within him. An urge to deepen connections, but also a nagging fear that he had yet to confront the essence behind his own teachings. What lay ahead on this journey? What more would he discover about himself before he could lead them forward? The next lesson hung just beyond reach, shrouded in uncertainty. What if the path to empowerment demanded sacrifices he was not ready to make? As Tom stepped outside the dojo, the crisp air wrapped around him like a shroud, imbuing him with a sense of urgency. Each breath he took felt heavier with the weight of his reflection. Uncertainty gnawed at him. He understood that vulnerability could pave the way to growth, yet a profound fear bubbled beneath the surface. Could he truly guide his students without unraveling himself in the process? Sitting on the steps, he allowed the midday sun to wash over him, but the warmth felt distant. He watched individuals come and go, their purpose clear in their stride. What did they see in him? A teacher? A mentor? Or merely someone wrestling with his own fears? The thought tightened his chest. He knew he had to confront this complexity, lest it fester and impede the potential he sought to cultivate in those who relied on him. The dojo welcomed him back, the polished floors reflecting not just light but also the ever-present tension of his inner conflict. Today, he decided, would not just be another lesson. It would be a reckoning, a test of both his personal resolve and professional capability. Tom turned to his students, emboldened. Today, we're going to talk about balance, he declared, scanning their faces. Each pair of eyes held stories, struggles, and unspoken fears. But not just the physical balance we practice in our movements. I'm talking about finding equilibrium in our lives between fears and strength, between hope and doubt. As he set the stage for this new lesson, he felt an unexpected swell of determination. He could not afford to let his own shadows overpower the light he aimed to project. His heart raced, but he buried the anxiety under layers of commitment to their growth. He instructed them to form a circle and focus their energy inward. Without balance, chaos reigns. Often, we tilt towards fear, thinking it protects us. But fear can blind us to the opportunities that lie ahead. He began, his voice steady despite his inner turbulence. He remembered Mr. Adams' words and pushed himself to share more of his own journey. The moments he considered dark but which now glimmered with the possibility of learning. But what happens when we lean too far in one direction? He asked, igniting curiosity. Let us explore that. I want you to find a partner just like yesterday. This time we will face a challenge, one that embodies balance. He divided the group into pairs again, giving clear instructions on a simple yet demanding exercise. They would stand back to back, pushing against each other's weight, mitigating their movements while attempting to maintain their stability. Tom watched closely, curiosity blending excitement with the pulse of apprehension as the students swayed. Laughter erupted and voices mingled with intent. He observed their growing tenacity, their ability to adapt with each shift, and it ignited a flame within him. Were these moments of shared struggle not exactly what he sought to prove the resilience that emerged from vulnerability? Then, suddenly, as laughter turned into collaboration, one pair lost balance and fell to the floor, breathless with unexpected mirth. The rest of the group paused, witnessing the momentary chaos transform into shared joy, a reminder of their humanity. Tom seized the moment, feeling the heat of determination rise. See how quickly balance can tip? But it's how we recover that matters most. Every fall is an opportunity to grow stronger. They returned to their feet, gathering together with a newfound sense of purpose as the lesson unfolded. Tom could feel himself evolving alongside his students. They were tethered by a shared experience of learning, blurring the lines between teacher and learner. With each shift, each restored balance, he uncovered fragments of strength he had buried deep within. He saw the sparkle in their eyes as lessons began to cement. He realized they were not merely relying on him, they were rising together. But still, a nagging doubt lingered in the back of his mind. Was this newfound clarity sustainable? How long until the weight of his own unresolved fears came crashing down again? Each time he glimpsed the path towards fortitude, a darkness loomed, reminding him of the sacrifices it would demand. As the session drew to a close, Tom beckoned them to gather for reflection, but a voice within his own mind contrasted sharply with the weight of silence that followed. He wanted to share his own struggles, to reveal the depths of his journey, but fear of judgment gripped him tightly. He took a deep breath, ready to speak, but hesitation held him captive. In that moment of indecision, he questioned whether he could genuinely lead his students to discover their strength if he remained shackled to his own doubts. What sacrifices would be necessary? Would he be able to break his silence and truly step into the role they all needed him to fulfill? The moment hung heavily in the air, poised on the brink of revelation. What awaited him on the other side of that realization? A deeper understanding of himself or another layer of uncertainty? Tom stood in front of his students, the silence growing thicker as uncertainty settled around him like a dense fog. His mind raced, frantic thoughts colliding. What if his vulnerability made him appear weak? Would they lose respect for him? The weight of expectation felt suffocating. Yet, the urge to connect, to inspire by example, tugged at him relentlessly. He could feel every eye in the room, a silent plea for guidance. How could he impart the lessons of resilience and balance without fully embracing his own notion of imperfection? His heart thudded louder, and in that moment he made a choice. It was time to push through the self-imposed barriers. Time to be real, not just for his sake but for theirs. Today he began, forcing the words past the lump in his throat. I want to share something deeper. We've talked about balance, but the truth is, every one of us faces moments of doubt, fear, and failure. The palpable tension began to dissolve, replaced by attentiveness. He paused, weighing his next words. This was a leap into the vulnerable abyss. I've struggled with these feelings myself. I often wondered if I could ever measure up to what my students need. I've let my fears cloud my judgment. He continued, feeling an unexpected wave of clarity wash over him. The truth is, fear will always be there like shadows, but we have to learn to stand in the light anyway. A ripple of surprise crossed their faces. Some exchanged glances, perhaps unearthing their own hidden struggles in his admission. It felt liberating to strip away the facade of perfection. With each word, Tom was reclaiming pieces of himself, shedding the weight that had long plagued him. One student, Mia, raised her hand hesitantly. But how do you move past that knowing you can fall again? Her question struck a chord. It was an angle Tom hadn't fully explored in his teaching, an acknowledgement of the cyclical nature of growth. That's the essence of balance, he replied thoughtfully. It's not about being free of fear or failure. It's about learning how to navigate it. Every time we stumble, we gather strength. Every setback teaches us a lesson. Each of you has the power to transform those fears into fuel. As he spoke, he saw comprehension dawn on their faces. Tom stepped back, letting them reflect. He felt lighter, as if the act of unveiling his truth had siphoned off old burdens. The lesson shifted from theory to tangible experience, extending beyond the walls of the dojo. They needed to see that even their mentor was a work in progress. Perhaps that was the essence of balance he sought to teach them. Minutes passed in contemplative silence. Then, someone from the back, a janitor who usually observed while cleaning, took a step forward. "Excuse me, I hope you don't mind my interruption, but what you just said reminded me of something I learned long ago. It's not only about balance. It's about recognizing when to fall softly. Life has a way of teaching you when to let go." His words echoed like an unexpected wisdom that transcended the traditional mentor-student hierarchy. Tom was struck by the simple profundity of the man's statement. It resonated with the very core of what he had just shared. Here was someone who had witnessed countless moments of struggle, speaking life into the very lessons they were grappling with. The janitor's humility and insight added a richness to their discussion, highlighting the interconnectedness of human experiences. As the janitor walked away, Tom's mind raced with implications. Life's lessons could come from anywhere, and perhaps it was time for him to embrace a wider perspective. Could he integrate this acknowledgement of softness, of letting go, into his approach? With renewed fervor, he gathered his students once more. "Let us build on this idea. I want each of you to consider a personal challenge. Tomorrow, I want you to share your thoughts on how letting go might serve your balance. Not just in practice, but in life. We all have stories to tell, and those narratives shape who we become." As he watched their eager faces, a thrill coursed through him. He felt as if they were standing at the edge of a cliff, preparing to leap into the unknown together. But he knew the journey was just beginning. Yet, despite the palpable enthusiasm, a lingering question flickered in the back of Tom's mind. Was he genuinely ready to embrace this broader perspective of vulnerability and wisdom, or would he, in the end, be paralyzed by the fear of the unknown? As he pondered, the warmth of possibility fought against the chill of apprehension that never quite faded, leaving him teetering between hope and hesitation. Tomorrow would come, and with it the challenge of stepping further into the light. As the sun began to rise over the dojo, Tom felt a newfound sense of clarity. The reflections of the past days echoing in his mind acted as both a guide and a challenge. He was on the cusp of a transformation, not just for himself, but for his students who had begun to mirror his own journey of vulnerability and growth. Entering the dojo with purpose, he marveled at how much had shifted since his encounter with Mr. Jenkins. The atmosphere buzzed with a sense of camaraderie that had replaced the tension and skepticism once pervasive among the students. Today, he would solidify that change. "Welcome everyone," he began, his voice steady but warm. "Today, we're diving deeper into resilience and trust, but this time, you'll be sharing your thoughts on how letting go can shape your balance, both in martial arts and in life." The students looked up at him, anticipation shining in their eyes, eager to engage with this new layer of reflection. As they paired off, Tom wandered through the dojo, encouraging discussions on personal challenges. The stories unfolded like petals blooming, revealing not just fears, but also aspirations and dreams. As he listened, he saw the transformation that had quietly woven itself into their connections. Students who once expressed doubt were now fostering encouragement, supporting each other as they explored the depths of their vulnerability. After a time, he called them back together. "What I saw was incredible," he remarked, feeling an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. You all took risks today by sharing and listening. That S strength, that S growth. But it's also a reminder that letting go doesn't mean losing control. It's about releasing the weight of expectations. The students nodded, reflecting on their experiences. Then, Tom felt a spark igniting within him. It was time to share his own challenges more openly. I faced my own moments of doubt, he began, bravely stepping into the light of authenticity. I worried about not being enough to lead you, about my strength in guiding this dojo. But as each of you bravely stepped forward, I realized that leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about supporting one another in navigating the questions. This journey is as much yours as it is mine. Mirroring the vulnerability of their experiences, the students found strength in his honesty. The transformation happening within them lit a fire in Tom. Their vulnerability was no longer a mere lesson but a collective strength. Perhaps together, they could redefine success, moving beyond traditional markers of excellence. Feeling emboldened, he suggested a final challenge. Let us celebrate what we've built here with a demonstration. You'll pair up and showcase a combination that incorporates trust, resilience, and balance both physically and emotionally. Think of this as a display of our journey together. As the students geared up, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had become a cohesive unit supporting one another, sharing their vulnerabilities, and confronting their fears openly. They had started this transformative journey attending to the aesthetics of martial arts, but were now embracing the intrinsic values that lie beneath. When the time came for their demonstration, what unfolded before him was beautiful, a showcase of not only technique but also connection. Each combination performed was interlaced with messages of support and acceptance. Their movements mirrored their growth and the bonds they had forged, resonating with the essence of the true strength that had eluded Tom until now. As the final students concluded their displays, applause erupted throughout the dojo. Tom felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. He could finally recognize that he had achieved a profound transformation not only as a sensei but as an individual. The once fearing man now stood confident, fulfilled, and aligned with the values he truly wished to embody. In that moment of clarity, Tom understood that mastery lay not in accolades or ranks, but in the ability to uplift others, to foster resilience, and to embrace the journey of growth together. The dojo, once a place burdened by expectation, had evolved into a sanctuary of support. He had accomplished something significant, a transformation that wouldn't just stop with him, but would ripple out into their lives beyond the mats. As the session wrapped up, Tom gazed around at the faces of his students, radiant with newfound confidence and joy. This was the culmination of their journey thus far and a celebration of what was yet to come. He felt an energized clarity, knowing this was just the beginning. In the echoing footsteps of the lessons learned, a powerful resolve solidified within him. He would continue to nurture this culture of growth, learning, and support while encouraging his students to embrace their own paths of resilience. Thank you for being open, for showing up, he concluded with a full heart. Together, we've built something remarkable, and I can't wait to see where this takes us all. And with that, a profound silence filled the room, an acknowledgement of shared triumphs and individual journeys, solidifying his role not simply as a teacher but as a true sensei, grounded, confident, and ready to embrace the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead. Now, as you absorb this ultimate chapter of growth, you need to subscribe now to dive even deeper into the journeys of transformation that await. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others discover these incredible stories of triumph. Comment below your reactions and theories about Tom's journey and what it means in your life. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us inspire growth and transformation in all corners of our communities.